The Zyrr Dominion didn't send diplomats. They sent conquerors wearing diplomacy like a stolen coat. On the bridge of the Vorhakrun, their flagship hung above Jupiter like a predator deciding where to bite first. Lightning crawled over the storm belts below, and every flash reflected off the armored scales of Zyrr officers standing in formation. General Karath Virak entered with the slow confidence of a creature certain no one would ever challenge him. His forearms rested on ceremonial blades, trophies from past conquests. The air shifted as Zyrr warriors stiffened. Everything about him announced supremacy. At the center of the chamber, a lone human waited. Commander Mason Hale stood with a stance relaxed enough to irritate any disciplined soldier. No armor. No helmet. Just a charcoal gray field jacket marked with the insignia of the Terran Coalition's Special Threat Response. Even under alien lights, his expression remained unreadable. Karath descended the obsidian steps, each footfall echoing across the metal floor. "Human," he began, voice like stone being crushed. "Your world has been selected for integration. Tribute is required." Mason didn't blink. "You dragged me to Jupiter to tell me that?" The bridge crew hissed at the insolence. Zyrr language carried amusement the way steel carried heat, dangerously. Karath stopped a meter from him, lowering his head to meet Mason's eyes. "You misunderstand. This is no negotiation. Earth will supply minerals, genetic stock, soldiers for auxiliary ranks, and 1 million labor units." "Labor units?" Mason repeated. "You mean people. That is what your kind calls them, yes?" A wave of tension passed through the Zyrr ranks as Mason took a step closer. "Not aggressive, measured. Earth isn't giving you anything." Karath widened his stance, mandibles twitching. "You are bold for a creature standing alone on an enemy warship." "Bold?" Mason said. "No. I'm practical. You demand tribute like we're afraid. We're not." The general activated a hologram that filled the chamber with projections of Earth cities burning, New York engulfed, Lagos fractured, Tokyo flattened. "One volley from my fleet," Karath said, "and your moon bases cease to exist. Your species kneels or dies." Mason studied the flames on the hologram, unfazed. "You practice intimidation. We practice consequences." A murmur rippled through the Zyrr crew. Karath tilted his head, intrigued. Humans were typically defiant, but this flavor of defiance was different. Calculated. Precise. "You believe yourself dangerous," Karath said. "I don't believe," Mason replied. "I know." The general leaned forward. "Your species is young. Impulsive. Unrefined. We have broken greater empires than yours. Do you understand the purpose of this ultimatum?" "I do," Mason said. "You want obedience. You'll get a war instead." Karath's rear arms tightened on his blades. "Arrogance." "No," Mason corrected. "Experience." The Zyrr bristled, struggling to comprehend a human who wasn't visibly terrified. Mason's posture remained casual, yet every word he spoke carried weight. Something about him unsettled even the seasoned warriors lining the walls. Karath dismissed the hologram, letting silence settle. "There is a rumor among my scouts," he said. "A human specter. A soldier who leaves no survivors. They call him the Earthborn Boogeyman. A legend meant to frighten undisciplined troops." Mason raised an eyebrow. "Cute name. You imply you know him?" Mason stepped inside Karath's shadow. "General, you're talking to him." The bridge went still. Karath studied him with newfound attention. "Tell me, Spectre, what drives you? Fear? Duty? The delusion that your small world matters?" "People," Mason said. "My people. They're worth fighting for." "And worth dying for?" Mason smiled faintly. "That's the difference between us. Humans don't fear dying. We fear kneeling." Karath straightened, insulted. "Your resistance is pointless. Submit peacefully, and your species will be catalogued with minimal violence." "You really don't get humans," Mason said. You can threaten cities, families, the whole planet. But you make one mistake, thinking fear is enough. You claim you are not afraid? I'm claiming, Mason said, voice low but solid enough to bend steel, that if you attack Earth, we'll kill you idiots. Weapons clattered as Zyrr soldiers tensed. Karatha's primary eyes narrowed. You dare? Truth isn't daring, Mason replied. It's preparation. Karath struck the floor with a blade, sparks scattering. You will leave this flagship and carry my terms to your council. Earth submits in 7 cycles or faces annihilation. Mason didn't move. No. The general halted mid-step. No. Earth doesn't accept ultimatums, Mason said. We answer them. Karatha's mandibles flared wide. Then your species chooses extinction. Mason finally stepped back, not out of fear, but out of completion, as if delivering the final line of a mission report. You're planning an invasion. I know. The fleet you're gathering near Callisto? The troop carriers hidden in nebula cover? I've seen the manifests. For the first time, the general's composure slipped. Impossible. Humans cannot infiltrate Dominion networks. Not networks, Mason said. Ships. Karath froze. You, he whispered. You were aboard the Galactic station? The one that exploded? Mason said with a shrug. Yeah. Several Zyrr guards instinctively stepped away from him. Karath regained his posture, but a thin crack of uncertainty marked his tone. Your infiltration is meaningless. The Dominion crushes resistance. Maybe, Mason said. But Earth isn't alone. Those species you enslaved? They'd been waiting for someone to punch you first. Karath slammed his lower arms onto the control rail. Enough. You will return home and deliver my terms. Mason turned toward the exit. I'll deliver something. Not your terms. And what message will you carry, human? He paused at the threshold. Turned slightly. Tell your emperor, Earth is coming. Guards reached for their weapons. Karath raised a hand, stopping them. Curiosity overrode fury. You are either brave, the general said, or delusional. Neither, Mason answered. Just human. The doors sealed behind him with a metallic thud. Back in the transport corridor, Mason walked alone. Zyrr officers glared from behind armored visors, but none approached. Rumors traveled fast aboard warships. Some whispered he carried weapons they couldn't detect. Others whispered he didn't need any. His comm implant buzzed softly. Hale, came the voice of STR Director Aminarin. Status? Message delivered, Mason said. And their response? They're coming. A pause. Then we prepare. Mason glanced once more at the alien architecture around him, towering, cruel, built for domination. The Zyrr thought they understood humans. They hadn't even begun. He entered the shuttle, sealed the hatch, and watched the flagship fall away into Jupiter's swirling storms. Humanity wasn't the biggest power in the galaxy. But it was the most dangerous. And soon, everyone would remember why. The shuttle cut through Jupiter's shadow as Mason Hale sat strapped into the narrow pilot's seat. The cabin lights flickered with each gravitational surge. Behind him, Terran's stealth tech hummed like a heartbeat. He watched the Zyrr flagship shrink into a pinprick of silver against the gas giant. Director Amina Wren's voice returned through the calm. Hale, your evac vector is confirmed. You'll link with the TCS Nightfall in 14 minutes. Copy, Mason said. Any updates? 1. Dominion movement has increased. They're repositioning carriers near Europa. You might have spooked them. I didn't do anything, Mason replied. I just told the truth. Amina exhaled in a way that signaled both respect and worry. Stay sharp. You've just become their top priority. Mason didn't bother responding. He knew it already. The shuttle glided toward the dark expanse beyond the planet's limb, toward the edge of human space, where the Nightfall waited in silent orbit of a fractured moonlet. But halfway through the approach, the shuttle's proximity alarm stabbed red. 3 Zyrr interceptors dropped from cloak. Mason muttered, "Of course." The lead interceptor transmitted instantly. "Human vessel. Power down. Prepare for boarding." Mason flicked a switch to kill the outward beacon. "Director, I've got company. Can you outrun them?" Amina asked. "Not in a shuttle." He pulled the manual throttle. The engines roared. The interceptors responded with predatory speed, surrounding the shuttle in a razor-sharp formation. A Zyrr pilot appeared on the comm screen, eyes narrow, mandibles flaring. "By order of General Karath, you are to be detained. Surrender immediately." Mason tilted his head. "Or what? Non-compliance will result in destruction." He smirked. "Then come earn it." He killed the transmission. The shuttle dove. The interceptors opened fire, bright arcs carving through the black. Mason twisted into the storm layers above Jupiter, where winds moved with the force of mountains. Lightning lit the cockpit in violent flashes. The Zyrr followed. One interceptor fired a grappler, 3 tendrils glowing with energy. Mason banked sharply, the tendrils slicing nothing but turbulence. He toggled a hidden panel beneath the console. "Good thing someone upgraded this crate." A small compartment opened, revealing a compact EMP slug. Mason loaded it into the shuttle's belly launcher. A second Zyrr craft locked weapons. "Human vessel, last warning." Mason fired. The EMP slug detonated between the ships. The electrical shockwave spread like a silent ripple. The first interceptor jerked violently, controls freezing. Its wings folded inward as systems died. It spiraled. It vanished into Jupiter's clouds. 1 down. The remaining 2 regained formation, angrier and more determined. Mason pulled up, breaking the cloud deck. Ice crystals blasted across the viewport. His calm crackled again. This time, Amina's voice was sharp. "Hale, the Nightfall is prepping a retrieval run. Hold position for 30 seconds. 30? Mason said. "That's optimistic." He climbed steeply. The Zyrr followed like wolves. A crimson beam sliced past his hull. The cockpit flashed warning icons. Mason gripped the controls with calm precision. "If you're going to intercept me," he muttered to the Zyrr pilots, "at least try something creative." A second beam hit the shuttle, shields buckling. The shuttle trembled as systems flickered. The Zyrr pilot's voice returned. "Resistance is meaningless. Your escape ends here." "That line gets old," Mason said. As the Zyrr lined up for the kill shot, space tore open beside him. A matte black ship decloaked with predatory silence. The Terran Coalition stealth frigate, the TCS Nightfall, emerged like a blade forged from darkness. Its hull absorbed light, its weapons did not. Amina Wren's voice filled the cockpit. "Hale, brace." The Nightfall fired. A single railshot punched through the second interceptor, splitting it in half. The explosion flashed white against Jupiter's shadow. The final Zyrr pilot panicked, peeling away in a sharp evasive arc. Mason pressed the comm. "Nightfall, target 3 is running." Amina answered. "Already on it." A net of micro-missiles arced from the frigate. The interceptor tried outmaneuvering them, twisting in frantic loops. The net adjusted. The Zyrr pilot screamed through open comms before the missiles struck. The third interceptor disintegrated into shards that scattered across space. Silence returned. Mason released a slow exhale. "Good timing. Good aim," Amina replied. "Dock with Bay 6. The Nightfall's landing bay opened with a smooth hiss as the shuttle slid inside. Gravity plating stabilized the deck. Technicians swarmed in silence. Mason stepped out, helmet under his arm, boots thudding against the dark alloy. Amina approached, tall, calm, always appearing as if she already knew the next 5 steps of every crisis. "Mason," she said, "you look like you flew through a hurricane." "Technically? I did." She scanned his stance, noting every detail. "Report." He handed her a data stick. "General Karatha's ultimatum." He wants minerals, soldiers, and 1,000,000 human lives. Amina's eyes hardened. And you refused, I assume? I delivered the message Earth needed to send. What message is that? That we're done kneeling. Amina closed her fist around the data stick. Good. Mason continued down the corridor beside her as lights shifted to red alert dimness. Crew members moved with controlled urgency. The Nightfall wasn't merely a ship, it was a warning wrapped in metal. They reached the tactical room. A hologram of the Jovian system rotated above the table, Dominion fleet signatures glowing in hostile red. New ones were appearing every few minutes. Amina gestured to the display. Our analysts confirm what you told the General. The Dominion has positioned 2 dreadnoughts at the Io Gateway. 4 carriers near Europa. Multiple infantry dropships are on the move. Mason shook his head. They're not preparing an intimidation show. They're preparing a full strike. Exactly, Amina said. And Earth's Council has authorized STR to respond. Mason looked at her. Respond how? She tapped the console. A new hologram appeared, one Mason recognized instantly, the Dominion slave transit charts. Amina said, We're not hitting their fleet first. Mason's jaw tightened. We're hitting their infrastructure. Everything that supports their war engine, Amina said. You know their networks. Their habits. Their blind spots. I also know what they'll do when we strike them. Yes, she said. Fight harder. Mason faced the map, eyes narrowing as the Zyrr fleet markers pulsed in angry red. Then we hit first. Amina nodded. And hit where it hurts. He stepped closer to the hologram. His voice lowered. Kara thinks humans break easily, Mason said. He's about to learn otherwise. Amina folded her arms. Then it begins. As the hologram shifted to mission briefings, Mason felt the Nightfall's engines surge beneath him. The ship turned toward the outer dark, away from Jupiter's storms, deeper toward the Dominion's territory. Earth had made its choice. And Mason Hale would make sure the Zyrr regretted forcing it. The TCS Nightfall drifted at the outer edge of Dominion space, cloaked in black signal silence. No running lights, no transmissions. Only the faint hum of engines operating at whisper power. Every surface of the ship carried purpose, no ornament, no decoration, only function honed into steel. Inside the tactical chamber, Mason Hale stood before the holographic map of the Zyrr Dominion's slave network. Routes branched like veins, each node a world emptied of hope. Amina gestured to the largest node, Harrow Station, a vast processing hub orbiting a dead star. This is their heart, she said. Break it, and you cripple their supply chain. Mason nodded. If we cut off their forced labor, their war machine collapses. Amina looked at him. The Council approved a precision strike. You're leading it. He didn't move, but the shift in his eyes held something sharp. What's the objective? Shock, she replied. Fear. A statement they cannot ignore. Mason stared at Harrow Station's scale. The Dominion had designed it with 2 purposes: processing captured species and breaking them. A colossal ring of engines glowed along its spine, feeding power into containment grids that held entire populations in place. What about the captives? Mason asked. Amina inhaled deeply. We expect casualties. The Zyrr will attempt to use them as shields. Mason's jaw tightened. Then we make sure our strike leaves no time for that. Amina touched the console. The hologram split into layers, weak points, control nodes, shield zones. Your infiltration team will plant phase charges along these 3 structural arcs. Once detonated, the station will fracture into controlled segments. Controlled? Mason said. It won't explode. It'll collapse inward. She paused. Captives survive. Garrison doesn't. Mason allowed a small nod. Good plan. And the other part, Amina added, is you sending a message directly to Karath. He turned to her. He asked for tribute. I'll give him an answer. The Nightfall deployed its landing craft under full cloak. Each drop pod glided silently toward Harrow Station, invisible to Dominion sensors. Mason sat inside one of the pods, armored this time, black composite plates, reinforced gauntlets, and a compact rifle with a folded stock strapped to his thigh. Opposite him sat Sergeant Kira Morrow, second in command of STR infiltrations. Sharp eyes, steady presence. She checked her gear with practiced discipline. "You really made him angry," she said. "Who?" Mason asked. "General Karath. Dominion intel channels are practically screaming your name." Mason shrugged. "He asked for honesty?" Kira smirked. "You gave him a reason to lose sleep." The drop pod trembled as it hit the station's exterior plating. The hull cracked open with surgical precision, allowing them to slip inside the maintenance shaft. The air smelled like heated metal and recycled despair. Kira whispered, "Contacts?" Mason checked his visor. "2 patrols. Separated. We take the left path." They advanced through dim corridors lit only by the electric pulse of Zyrr conduits. Harrow Station's architecture loomed around them, tall, angular, built for intimidation. Mason moved first, silent as a shadow. Kira followed with equal precision, her rifle tracking every corner. They reached the first structural arc. "Charge 1," Kira said. Mason knelt beside the alloy support beam. He placed a phase detonator with steady hands, syncing it to the Nightfall's command channel. The device clamped with a soft hiss. "1 down," Mason said. "2 more," Kira replied. They continued deeper into the station. Distant machinery roared like imprisoned thunder. The air vibrated with the silent suffering of thousands. At the second arc, a Zyrr patrol blocked their path. 4 soldiers, armored with bone-like plates, weapons drawn. Mason stepped forward before Kira could react. The Zyrr captain snarled, "Human intruders! Drop your we!" Mason lunged. His gauntlet struck the captain's throat with brutal precision. The soldier collapsed, choking. The other 3 opened fire. Kira rushed beside him, rifle snapping in controlled bursts. Blue energy streaks lit the hall. 2 fell instantly. The third tried to retreat, mandibles quivering. Mason grabbed the alien by the chest plate and slammed him into the wall hard enough to dent the metal. "Where are the captives?" Mason demanded. The Zyrr thrashed, but Mason tightened his grip. "Where?" The alien's voice cracked. "Sector 9, lower barracks." Mason released him. Kira's rifle fired once. The alien slumped. "Lower barracks is packed," she said. "We'll need to clear a path." "We finish the charges first," Mason said. "Then we extract the captives." They reached the second arc. Mason set the charge. The detonator glowed red. 2 arcs down. As they approached the final support beam, alarms blared. The station had detected unauthorized signatures. Kira cursed. "We're exposed." Mason looked up at the ceiling as the red lights pulsed. "Then we move fast." A platoon of Zyrr soldiers surged down the corridor. Mason and Kira dove behind a bulkhead as bombardment fire tore into the walls. Sparks rained from overhead wiring. Kira reloaded. "We can't hold this position long." "We don't," Mason said. "We push." She nodded, trusting him completely. They moved. Mason swept into the open, firing with pinpoint accuracy. Kira mirrored him. 2 soldiers fell instantly. A third tried flanking. Mason kicked a maintenance crate into his legs and shot him through the visor. The corridor filled with smoke. They advanced through it like ghosts, firing, striking, cutting down the squad before the smoke cleared. Kira pointed ahead. "Final arc." Mason set the last charge. The detonator blinked green, syncing with the others. The station hummed with tension, as though aware of its impending collapse. Amina's voice crackled through Mason's calm. "Charges read stable. Ready for detonation on your mark." "Not yet," Mason said. "We're getting the captives out." Kira tilted her head, listening. Distant cries echoed from below. "Not shouts, please." Desperation pulled through the grates. "Kira," Mason said. With me. They descended into Sector 9. The barracks were worse than expected. Hundreds of beings, humans, Zalari, Vrake, others Mason couldn't name, crowded behind energy barriers. Their eyes widened when they saw him, disbelief spreading like a ripple. A frail Zalari woman reached toward him. Are you Terran? Mason deactivated the barrier with a bypass spike. We're here to get you out. Footsteps thundered behind them, reinforcements approaching. Kira shouted. Mason! I hear them, he said. Move the captives toward the lift. He turned to her. Kira, lead them. She hesitated. And you? Someone needs to hold the line. Her eyes hardened. Don't die. I'm not planning to. She guided the captives toward the exit. Mason faced the incoming Zyrr squad alone. He raised his rifle. Come on, he whispered. Let's finish this. The squad charged. Mason's shots were clean, calculated, economical. He dropped the first enemy with a chest strike, pivoted, shot the second through the visor, ducked beneath a blade, slammed an elbow into a throat, and fired upward. Bodies fell in a tight cluster. But more came. His rifle ran dry. He tossed it aside. The next soldier lunged. Mason grabbed the alien's arm, twisted, broke it at the joint, and used the fallen blade to take down two more. His breath grew heavier, muscles burning, but he held the hallway with sheer will. Kira's voice arrived through the calm. Evac ready! Mason backed toward the lift, cutting down the last soldier. They ascended as Dominion alarms screamed across the station. Amina, Mason said. Trigger it. Confirmed. The detonators activated. Harrow Station groaned, metal warping, supports buckling. The whole structure folded inward like a collapsing star. The Nightfall's docking bay opened as Mason, Kira, and the rescued captives spilled inside. The ship surged away as the station imploded behind them, silent in the vacuum. Amina met Mason at the bay. It's done. Dominion Command will feel that. Mason wiped blood from his cheek. Karath wanted tribute. And your answer? Mason looked at the collapsing station in the viewport, an empire's pride reduced to wreckage. Humans don't kneel, he said. We end threats. Amina nodded. Then the war truly begins. Mason stared into the dark beyond the stars. Somewhere out there, General Karath was learning what it meant to provoke humanity. And Mason Hale planned to teach him the rest.